Alright guys, how's it going? So I kinda deliberated and I hummed and hawed whether I wanted to make this video, but it kinda indirectly affects me to a certain extent, and I feel as if a conversation should be opened up between YouTubers and certainly Blender. Now this actually stems from Olav3D Tutorials. I'll put a link in the description to his YouTube channel. If you're wanting to learn Blender, it's a great resource, I highly recommend the channel. Now I generally try to avoid drama and I generally try to avoid talking about other YouTubers. Just for an easy life, to be honest. I don't have anything personal towards anybody or no animosity certainly. But this comes from his community post and I'll just give you a quick read. The Blender Foundation is now telling large YouTubers to remove the Blender logo from their tutorial thumbnails. Now if you know anything about trademark law or logo copyright to a certain extent, you'll understand that using the Blender logo, it's pretty much a no-go. You shouldn't be doing it at all. So he goes on, so much for open source. Now this is where you need to identify the difference between an open source application and a trademark registered. Because it's open source doesn't give you the physical and legal right to use a logo. In fact, if you actually look at my YouTube channel, you'll notice that I kind of generally avoid using the Blender logo at all. When I do use it, I generally put it in the lower right hand corner, certainly with an opacity, and I don't show the full logo, and this kind of keeps me on the right track to a certain extent. But anyway, I'll continue reading. So Olav says, do you guys agree with me that it's ridiculous that we should be allowed to use the logo in the tutorial thumbnails? Now, this is where you come into a moral argument versus a legitimate argument. Do I believe you should use the logo in the thumbnails? Yes, I certainly do. It certainly helps YouTubers, like especially if you're like me and you're a small YouTuber. Now I'm lucky. I don't actually use YouTube it's not my income. I obviously work freelance and I obviously make enough money. YouTube is a part-time job for me really, a hobby more than anything, and I like helping users out, which is partly the reason why I want to make this video. But using the logo on a thumbnail certainly does generate more views, but there's other ways to work about it, like I mentioned there. It makes Blender tutorials easier to find. I completely agree with that, and makes Blender more famous in my opinion. Now this is one part that I don't actually agree with. Blender doesn't need YouTubers to make Blender famous. Blender's a very big company, they're a very lucrative company, and this is what you need to understand about 3D. Blender has its own marketing team, and when I say marketing, I don't mean they make social media posts or they do YouTube live streams or things like that. I mean they actually have a marketing team. They understand analytics. They can tell you when they're in a bull trap. They can tell you exactly how the market is moving. And I don't just mean for Blender, I mean for the entire industry, especially in the 3D industry. And if you learned what some of these companies actually get up to, it would kind of disgrace you to a certain extent. But at the end of the day, this is what business is. Now I voted no. The reason I've done this is because, well, I don't agree with it and I wanted to see the stats. So 87% of the Olav's users believe that they should be allowed to use the Blender logo. And this is where the moral dilemma kind of starts. If you actually go into the official logo page, most companies will give you a logo to use, and the reason for this is continuity when it comes to a market. So they want their brand established. Now you can use the logo, but only under certain limitations. They also even give you things like the Pantone colours, so it means the colours are always the same. They even give you examples of bad logos. Now just to give you an example of this, if you type in Blender tutorials, you'll notice that most tutorials actually use some form of the Blender logo. This isn't to grass other YouTubers up, this is just giving you an example. One thing you may notice actually is Blender Guru always uses his face. And the reason for this is it's called a physical representation of character. So when Blender Guru's face comes up, your brain automatically thinks, I need to click on this, and it's actually a very good piece of marketing. But for kind of young YouTubers like myself, generally using the Blender logo attracts more attention. Now Olav here is technically using a bad logo under the rights of Blender. Does that give you the right to still use a logo? No. Even things like Grant Abbott, I believe, here uses the same logo as well. So let me go over some of the usage and guidelines. Blender is a registered trademark, and that's pretty much a fundamental thing, especially if you're a business. Now, the question is, would you use somebody else's artwork in your thumbnail? And obviously the answer to that is no. So why would you use a company's logo, which is technically artwork, in your thumbnail? So you can already start to see this kind of line being divided. And you also need to keep in mind, Blender is a company, they've got people to pay, there's investors. They're not a small company just playing around with 3D software, they are a business. So it basically goes on to say, the logo can be used to point to a product of Blender. So if you're pointing to the Blender 3D website, or you're pointing to a Blender product per se, you can use the logo then. You will visualise and promote your own branding more prominent than you use the Blender logo. And this is me going back to, my logo needs to be large and their logo kind of needs to be secondary. They don't want any miscommunication. You can use the Blender logo or promotion on products such as a t-shirt, caps, trade shows. And I actually know about this. We asked for permission and they kind of said no. So they are very stringent when it comes to their branding. And rightly so, they're entitled to be. It is their brand, it is their company. In case you use a logo on products we sell commercially, you have to contact us with a picture. So at the end of the day, if you want to use the Blender logo, you either need to do it in a kind of hidden way, or you need to contact Blender. And that pretty much is the basics of it. Now, why YouTubers do this, I have no idea. I can understand that it gets them more views and more attention. Now, I was reading some of the comments on the post, and I don't want to get Olav involved in this, and I don't want to get any other YouTubers essentially involved in it, but I do feel as if a conversation should be opened up, and I do feel Blender actually need to come out. Now, Olav was apparently contacted by Francesco from Blender, and he basically says, stop using a logo, please change your thumbnails. And that's the right way to do it, be polite. Now, Olav's got a lot of videos, that's a lot of thumbnails to change, and it might mean a little bit of work, but at the end of the day, Blender have that right, and you do not have the right to use their logo. And this is what I mean by there is a certain grey area, and it does come to morality and it does come to legitimacy. And at the end of the day, Blender have the legal right to ask for this to be removed. Now, is it a dick move? Personally, I don't think it is. I can understand Olav's perspective in this, and I can understand YouTubers kind of getting upset about it. But you know the rules. The rules are in their own website, and if you choose to break them, well, that's kind of your own fault, to be honest. Now, I was reading some of the comments, and the majority of the users comment and pretty much say, you know what you're playing at, Blender have got the right, it's a bit of a dick move, but at the end of the day, that's it. So here's why you shouldn't use the Blender logo. Legally, Blender can actually get things removed, and if they were really being anal about it, they could get lawyers involved, and that'll cost time and money. I don't see them stretching down that route because it would be bad PR to a certain extent, but they could legally do it, and you would have no ground to stand on. So how can you get around using it? Well, you could technically modify the logo, but the best thing for you as a YouTuber, or from the way I feel, you should establish your own branding. You shouldn't need to use the Blender branding as a stepping stone. So just to give you an example of a comment, they're giving you fantastic free software, the least you can do is pay them back and abide by the rules, and that's kind of right, to be honest. But this is where things get misconstrued. Free software doesn't mean they don't make money. right, you need... Blender is not a baby company. Blender is a big player in the 3D market, and I don't think a lot of people have actually grasped onto that. Because you're offering your product for free doesn't mean you can't have a market influence. So you need to keep that in mind. So this was a kind of open topic. I know people are going to have an opinion, and I know people will think it's a bit of a dick move capitalising on this, but I don't care. I'm more than entitled to my opinion, and at the end of the day, that's what it is. So do me a favour, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll be back with tutorials next week. Cheerio.